Hello and welcome to Connecticut at your service. I'm your host today, Terry Perkins, and we welcome you with another episode. We're coming to you live right now from Soundview Community Media in Stratford, Connecticut, and we are so excited. We have an amazing guest today. Before we get to that, I just wanted to mention that Connecticut at your service is a show that is here to educate, entertain, and engage our viewers, and to really highlight individuals who are doing amazing things for our community, and just put in that work every day and whenever they can. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our amazing guest, Miss Deborah Greenwood. She is the president and CEO of the Center for Family Justice in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So welcome, Deborah. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I really want to know what kind of, before we get into, the work that you do with the Center for Family Justice, I want to know kind of like who's your support system for all that you do? Because you do a lot. And we were talking about how much you do and how you like doing so much. You like to be on your feet. You like to keep moving, which is really awesome, and stay up to date with things. So who's your support system? What do you sort of live by every day?
Well, I have my own village, I guess, is a way to put it. I've always been very fortunate to have my husband, this year actually 50 years we have been married.
Congrats.
We've known each other for 52 though. We met in college, and we've raised 3 incredible young women. So I start with that, and then I also expanded into 6 grandchildren that are ages almost 18 all the way down to 3.
Wow.
So when you look at why we do what we do, but it goes even much deeper and farther when you peel the onion back. It is my friends that I've met along the way, starting with my friends from the YMCA I came from, to all the incredible staff at the Center for Family Justice. We have over 60 employees there, and 92% of them are women.
Nice.
But then we have some really great men that work there as well. So having a great staff and incredible volunteers and family and board of directors that are all behind the mission of the work that we do at the Center for Family Justice is really what gets me through day by day.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. I love to hear that. Family is a big thing, and it sounds like you have a very supportive family, just a big, and beyond family, the family that you've made outside of blood.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. So I guess getting into the organization that you are the president and CEO of, can you tell us, what your mission statement is for that company? What do you guys do? Who are you guys?
Yes. So we are one of 18 member agencies in the state of Connecticut that provide free and confidential support programs and services to anyone being affected by domestic violence, sexual violence, or we're also a children's advocacy center, so that affects children that have been affected by abuse as well.
Mm-hmm.
So our 24/7 hotlines are on 365 days a year.
Nice.
And everything that we provide to an individual that needs that support, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, our mission is to get that individual to come through the doors at the Center for Family Justice. Whether we meet someone at their darkest moment, we know that their brightest moment will be meeting one of our staff because they were strong enough to actually come through the door or pick the phone up and call the hotline.
Right.
So that is a very, very short answer to what we do at the Center for Family Justice.
Well, thank you. So what are some of the, what are some of the challenges that you kind of come across day to day with, your workspace? Like, I know it's definitely a difficult thing to, a difficult, space to work in as far as, what you have to see, the unfortunate things. So I guess what are some of the, difficulties and, What are some of the difficulties? I thought we had a caller. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
What are some of the difficulties that you go through day to day, and how do you sort of overcome them? I guess within your perimeter, like what do you guys offer?
So there's a lot to answer that question. One is our office hours are from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but as I mentioned, we have hotlines on 24/7, 365 days a year. So some of the programs look like this. We have 5 staff at Golden Hill Street Court, Criminal Court in Bridgeport. And the bulk of individuals really go through that program with court advocacy. Staff that help someone navigate what court might look like. There might have been an arrest. There's a, what am I going to do with my children? How do I help them? How do I help myself?
Right.
And they're off-site. The court is off-site. They're not in our main headquarters on Fairfield Avenue. In addition to that, we have a 24/7 domestic violence safe house.
Nice.
And there's never, I will say, an answer that says there's no room at the inn.
Right.
We can take 16 individuals in the safe house at any given moment. However, we know that some stays may be shorter, some may be much longer.
Right.
But if someone needs to go to a safe place, we will put someone in a hotel, a designated hotel. So you have to have staff working 24/7.
Right.
So that's your first barrier, but we get through it. We, once again, have highly trained, certified individuals that know how to deal with the trauma that individual's going through. And when you think about it, most times, 62% of the individuals that need to go into a safe house have children.
Right.
So they're going to live with strangers. They need to be safe. There's a lot that they have to take in. They're traumatized. They've just left their safe place home. That's where our safe place is. At least it should be.
Yeah.
For these individuals, it is not. And when I came to the Center for Family Justice in 2007, I had come from the YMCA of the USA. I ran local-wise. I did a lot of work with the National YMCA of the USA. And one of the similarities was working with people and families and kids. And people like to tell you things when their kids are in after-school programs or a swim class or summer day camp, all the above. And they might share quietly that things weren't going very well.
Right.
And we, believe it or not, when I was running WISE, we were referring individuals to the agency I now run.
Wow.
And always respected and held in high esteem. So the one thing that we know is we have grown our organization, which we have over the last few years, has been, we'll never have enough individuals to work there. You're never going to have enough money.
Right.
But the one thing we have worked very hard on is to expand the support system. So when I first got to the, now as we call it, the Center for Family Justice, back in 1895, we were a YWCA.
Right, okay.
So we're talking over 127 years ago, 126, I'm not doing the math right, but it's about that.
Yes.
Around that time. And in 1997, the organization decided that they weren't going to duplicate services because diagonally across the street from us is a YMCA.
Okay.
So a lot of things changed over time, and the organization felt it was important now that the Violence Against Women Act was an official program and support and an initiative for the United States to have across the country agencies that were focused in on working with those that were being affected by domestic violence, sexual violence, and child abuse. So we disaffiliated from the YW. In 1997, the agency became the Center for Women and Families. And when I got there in 2007, I came from a national organization.
Right.
I asked the question, what's the best way to serve a victim of abuse? And we would sit around the two different coalition tables that were working with victims of domestic violence. And again, we're considered a dual agency as well as victims of sexual violence. And the answers were many.
Right.
So we had a complete study done by the Harvard Business School, and 7.5 months later, they pointed us in a direction that a family justice center puts under one roof all the support programs a victim of abuse needs, called a family justice center. And it started in San Diego, California in 2002. So our board wanted ourselves, law enforcement, prosecutors from criminal court to go out to California and go find out, how do you do this?
Right.
So we got the information, went to a conference, and about 2 years later, we decided we were going to transform the organization into a one-stop shop.
Wow.
I worked with the mayor's office, I worked with all of our state senators, our city council, leaders in the 6 towns we serve, which are Bridgeport, Easton, Fairfield, Monroe, Stratford, and Trumbull. And we had to raise a lot of money. We had to talk to the leadership in our 6-town area and cut the ribbon on Connecticut's first Family Justice Center in 2016.
Wow.
And it was the first one in our state, but it joins now 148 across the United States, which also now includes 5 other countries besides ours.
Wow.
And we measure the work that we do and the impact we have by giving individuals everything they need, from working with themselves, their children, after they get through a crisis, to take that even one step further. How can we make you self-sufficient so you don't have to go through the system 7 to 10 times?
Right.
And that 7 to 10 times has been measured by the Department of Justice. And we now can measure that this type of organization can help. It won't stop, but it can help avoid the number of times people go through court and bring down the amount of homicides in our service area.
Right.
So unfortunately, as we've heard in the last few months, there have been several in Connecticut, and our job is to get in front of it. But to also help that individual and work with 20 nonprofits in Bridgeport that are experts in their field.
Nice.
So we can't do it all, but we're the experts in working with victims of abuse.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I just mentioned took a lot of time, energy, studying,
Sounds like it.
fundraising,
Right.
and also talking to those that have come through those doors to say, I know what we do well, what do we not do for you? And the important information that we get back from our clients is how we progress in the work we do.
Nice.
Because we're probably, in my lifetime, not going to eradicate domestic and sexual violence, but maybe decades and eons from now, I would love us to be out of business.
Right. That's a beautiful, beautiful outlook on life, and just wow, that journey, that's amazing. So, just thank you for all the work that you do, because, I didn't even get to mention that, you were working with the YMCA. You started your own, I guess, like chapter, you would call it, or, right, you started that, one of the first women to really, to start leading in that way. So that's really awesome. You also do a lot of volunteer work with the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, and, you're a wish maker for the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Connecticut. You just do a lot. So I definitely want to make sure that I highlight you on our show. You definitely need to be highlighted, and the work that you do, and especially, your organization as well, because this is a great resource for people who need it and who just want to support and learn more, because there's definitely a need for it, as you said. And in the future, we're hoping that there will not be a need, but currently there is. So when you were speaking earlier, I noticed that the name changed a few times. So at one point it was like women, and now it's family. So we know that there is a lot of, well, I guess something even for me that's new. Men are also being abused, and children are also high on that number as well. So I don't know if you can kind of speak on sort of the people who don't, you don't really think about as far as abuse goes, and what your observations or anything about that subject.
That's a great point. Most people think, a couple of things. A myth is domestic violence is only between a husband and a wife.
Right.
And yes, of course, that we know that that's true. However, intimate partner violence also has a lot to do with, it could be a mother-son, it could be a father-daughter, it could be 2 women, 2 men, it could be a child and a parent.
Right.
With that being said, We also realize that it's important to kind of change the language and change the landscape to make sure that men know that they also are victims of abuse.
Right.
We see a lot of it with not just our teens and children and college students, because we do have a college campus advocacy unit that works with Sacred Heart University and Fairfield University, UB, Housatonic, and we're right on the college campuses working with their staff. But understanding that abuse affects everyone.
Right.
It does not matter, it does not discriminate, whether you are coming from low income to high income to medium income. It makes no difference. It does not matter besides the socioeconomic component of it. Ethnicity, it affects across the board. When we do our data and our statistics, it's really incredible to see that it breaks up into a variety of different cultures. We know that we've put a lot of support. I'll use Bridgeport for example. We've had great success with our Latino and Hispanic population because we know we have a higher percentage of individuals living in Bridgeport.
Okay.
So it was important that we were hiring more than 60% of our staff that were bilingual.
Nice.
So we have a whole unit called our Latinx, but we know we're going to be changing that verbiage soon in Connecticut. That will make sure that individuals in our churches and different cultural groups know where they can go for free confidential support.
Awesome.
And that we are speaking the languages of those that we're serving. That's very important.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I wanted to get to something you do for the youth as well. You have a Camp Hope America, Bridgeport. Can you tell us a bit about that? And we actually have a video, so maybe we should show the video first, and then we can talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
At the Center for Family Justice, we provide the free and confidential support services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for anyone that's being affected by domestic violence, sexual violence, or children being affected by abuse. Many of the children that we serve in the greater Bridgeport area have been sexually assaulted. They have been physically abused. They've been emotionally abused. When you think about a child and their brain is still growing and you're trying to deal with trauma, we know that it stops the growth of, believe it or not, their brain activity, and they give up something called hope. It's also been proven through all of our research that we've done through Camp Hope America that it also takes away almost 20 years of their life.
My name is Abel.
My name is Genesis.
My name is Axel Patrick.
My name is Camille and I go by she, her pronouns.
My name is Andy.
My name is Nadia, but I rather go by Nani.
If you can imagine, you are one of the kids that is going to Camp Hope for the very first time. Until you're actually getting on that bus, you're realizing, I'm going to be away from my family for a whole week. Plus, I'm still dealing with trauma. And all of a sudden, you're starting to see that we're leaving a city like Bridgeport. You're not seeing the buildings, you're getting off the highway. It's starting to get more and more rustic, more trees, more woodlands. And then as you start to approach the camp pathway and you're still ascending upward, all of a sudden, the first thing you see is this pristine, beautiful lake. And if the sun's out, it looks like diamonds dancing on it first thing in the morning. And it's breathtaking. They're greeted by the staff, and then the fun begins.
So yes, that was beautiful. I love that. And the metaphor you said about the diamonds on the water, I thought that was really sweet. I wanted to go see it myself. I was like, oh, that sounds nice. But can you tell us more about the camp and how that works?
Sure. So as we started to ready ourselves for the Family Justice Center transformation of our organization, as you know, I've worked for the YMCA for 28 years before I came to then the Center for Women and Families. And working with the national CEO and president, Casey Gwynn, this gentleman, and Gail Strack, who is his co-vice president, co-team cheerleader for kids, in our country that have experienced trauma affected by living in a domestic violence household, or they've been sexually violated. You can only imagine that they have given up a lot of hope.
Right.
So I learned quite a bit, though I worked in the Y with many, many kids running a day camp. And the camp that our kids get to go to in the summer, which is Camp High Rock in the Berkshires, part of the Central Connecticut Coast YMCA. I worked with these individuals who I trust with every breath I take.
Nice.
Because I know how important and how safe the camp is.
Right.
It's an accredited camp through the American Camping Association. So we had heard that the Verizon Foundation was looking to award Camp Hope America, which started out in San Diego, California, in a place called Kidder Creek on the Oregon-California border. And long story short, Casey Gwynn began this journey to make sure kids that had been affected by abuse would have a place to go with clinicians and people that understood what they had gone through, with kids that were part of a very large support group, and also work with a partner camp that knows how to run a camp.
Nice.
Because our clinicians are not experts in
Right.
swimming and high-low ropes course, all those things.
Yeah.
And I remember bringing the staff up to Camp High Rock, and it took their breath away. And I said, it is absolutely stunning, and it's beautiful, and it's nature.
Yeah.
So we want these kids to have the same experience. However, when we have our, we call them hope circles over a campfire at night, and all the kids are around there, and they've had a great day of swimming and water skiing and crafts and music and going to the dining hall with a few hundred other kids where you can't even hear yourself think, and they're hiking up and down the trails and just having a great time. But at night it gets quiet, and they get to share a lot of what they felt the day meant to them. And we ask one question: where do you see hope today? And as scary as it was to leave home to sleep away with a lot of kids in a place that might have bears walking around, though they don't. It's like bear crossing, and they're like, Right. At the end of the night, they're having, s'mores and all the fun things you do at camp. They get to share their inner feeling of where they saw hope. And it could be anything from, I got to pick up a frog today. I made a new friend. I saw the sunset today, and I feel really good about what I learned today. I accomplished something I never thought I could.
Nice.
So our staff have been trained in a program through Tulsa, Oklahoma, through the University of Oklahoma, on how to measure hope. So we measure that before they go to camp, and then when they get home, and their hope scales are through the roof.
Wow.
Because it has been life-changing for them. So you might think, it's a long way for next summer to come. We have expanded our services where the kids can come every single week.
Nice.
It's called Pathways to Hope.
Wow.
And they choose something they really believe in, from social justice to performing arts to learning science, technology, engineering, and mathematical pieces they might not be exposed to rock climbing and going and having fun outdoors. So there'd be outdoor adventure, sports, and movement. So kids get to pick what makes them feel good.
Wow.
From music therapy to art therapy, and not everybody likes the same thing.
Right.
So when you have about 100 plus kids that we work with all year long, I could probably have 300 kids, but they also have individuals that are assigned to them.
Okay.
So at any time they've had that moment where they really need to reach out, we are that hotline for them.
Nice.
24/7, same as adults. And watching our kids for the last few years go through this program, they're now becoming little counselors for the younger kids coming in.
That's beautiful.
So
Wow.
that's what we do for our kids, and they're working with highly experienced clinicians that are there for them no matter what they need.
Nice.
So where we've got them in the beginning and they've given up on hope, they've given up on going to finishing high school, or nothing good will happen to me because I haven't had that. So we're proud of that work, and we've joined 48 other Camp Hope Americas across the country.
Nice. Wow, that sounds amazing. I love that you guys are a resource to them. I was thinking when you were speaking about like the different, reflections of hope that they get to talk about. And I was thinking like they get to be kids there, they get to just be children, So I thought that was really beautiful. But we're running low on time, so I wanted to make sure that I had you bring up some of the events that are coming up, because I know you guys have like a lot of events, including your camp. We're coming up on spring, and then summer will be right here. So our first event is going to be this, or we're not first event, but the first one we're talking about. Can you tell us briefly about Women Rock?
Sure. So Women Rock is one of our newer events for Women's History Month, and we are, it's really not so much a fundraiser as it is a celebration of women in the month of March. So we have some women for all different ages, from high school, college, and everything else in between. So we'll be honoring unsung heroes, not the names you might read about in the newspaper, but those behind the scenes that are being identified by our volunteers in our community. The band Together will be playing, so we're going to celebrate all the great music thanks to Band Central.
Nice. And then you have Giving Day. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So us and a few hundred other nonprofits will be doing Giving Day through Fairfield County Community Foundation, where it's a all-day event where people can donate to their favorite charity. We're hoping folks that believe in the mission of the Center for Family Justice will be joining everybody else across Lower Fairfield County.
Nice. And then the grand finale.
Yes.
Walk a mile in her shoes.
So Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. This will be our 11th year, where we congregate at the Fairfield train station, and heels are not required, but we get a lot of individuals from our universities and high schools and people of all ages, including my age, that walk 1 mile from the Fairfield train station all the way to the green in Fairfield, and every dollar that is donated is going towards the Camp Hope America Bridgeport program, so our kids can go to camp.
Beautiful. And I love this picture of the previous ones I can see. Looks like it was a great time.
We're very fortunate to have a big group of men from our White Ribbon Committee, some from former law enforcement, but this is all led by former Chief Gary McNamara from Fairfield.
Nice. Awesome. Well, how can we reach you or reach the organization and get more information about these events?
So if anyone is interested in getting more information about the Center for Family Justice, they can go online to www.centerforfamilyjustice.org, or they can call our offices at any time at 203-334-6154.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We're running like super close to time. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show. I'm so glad I got to highlight you for all the amazing things that you do, and your organization. I'm glad we could spread these resources. And yeah, I hope you had a great time as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching Connecticut at Your Service. We'll be here every Tuesday live at 6:30 p.m., normally with our host, Carmen Nieves. Once again, our show's purpose is to educate, entertain, and to engage. So make sure that you subscribe to our Soundview YouTube channel, and also subscribe to the Center for Family Justice's YouTube channel. And you can find some of their amazing resources. And I am your host, Terry Perkins. Thank you.